welcome back to the Guns of Die Hard. So we've already taken a look at the Beretta 92, the Steyr AUG or AUG, and today, you guessed it, we are jumping in with the gun that was wielded by the first baddie to die in Die Hard. Tony was his name, by the way. I think it's only said once or twice in the film, but his name was Tony, the H&K Mp5. So let's get into it. Now this particular gun I have here isn't a real Mp5. In fact, it's not even made by HK. This is made by Revolutionary Roller Locks here in Plano, Texas. I did a review on one of these. You can actually click here or wherever I put it. So I'm not going to get into the details on this specific gun or even the Mp5 in general because there's a lot of information out there. Really, I just want to talk about how iconic this gun is and the fact that it is still very, very relevant today. So when you see it appear on Die Hard, it is in the hands of Tony, Carl's brother.
The fire has been called off, my friend. No one is coming to help you. You might as well come out and join the others. I promise I won't hurt you.
And it really does play a central role. I would say this gun is almost one of the main characters of the film. And in fact, the Mp5s and or the Mp5K is the only gun outside of the Beretta 92 and some variant of the AR-15 M16 to appear in the original Die Hard trilogy, which are the only actual Die Hard movies. The later ones don't even count to me. So in Die Hard 1, they had Mp5s, and it's interesting because they're always the bad guy gun, but then somehow either John McClane gets a hold of it, or in the case of Die Hard 3, Samuel L. Jackson actually gets his hands on an Mp5K, but they always start out as the bad guy gun and somehow end up in the hands of the good guy. And there's just something so iconic about the shape of this gun, the fact that it was designed in the 60s, I believe, and there's definitely some quirks to it. For example, I think the coolest thing that people think of when they think the Mp5 is the Mp5 Slap, where you've got your charge handle up here, put a magazine in, slap that down, you're charged and ready to rock and roll. Obviously, there is nothing cooler than slapping that charge handle down. One thing I will say about clones that have made certain improvements is this Revolutionary Roller Locks upper rail here has little corners taken off, because if you try to use an Mp5 with a rail, the clamp-on rail, they've got sharp corners here, and when you go to do that slap, you're gonna get yourself nice and cut here on these corners. So one thing I will say about the clone industry is they're making improvements to the platform, and cutting off those corners has definitely been nice. So boom, you got the Mp5 Slap. One of the things about the Mp5 that I think is definitely a downside is gonna be its manual of arms. And just like any gun, it lives and it dies by the quality of its magazines. So in my experience, actual HK magazines, which I've got one right here, this is an actual HK magazine. They're very expensive. I think you're looking at like $100 now if you want an actual Mp5 magazine from HK. This is my most reliable mag, and it just has something to do with the quality, the way they're made, and with the bolt closed, I can very easily insert this mag. You're gonna have a little bit of wiggle. Over time, these mags do break in. You can have a little bit of wiggle, but it does insert very, very easily with the bolt closed. However, I think these are PCI mags. When you go to insert them, they do not want to stay closed because the feed lip is a little bit oversized. So you gotta give them a little bump on the bottom, and then they're locked in there, but they're rock hard. They don't have any wiggle. And I think that's kind of part of the mystique or the prestige of the Mp5 is these mags are going to wiggle a little bit, but that's just a sign that you've got a good one. Now, moving on back. Other things that are really cool about the Mp5 is that prior to '86, thank you Ronald Reagan, we could have full automatic guns. So this gun right here does have the SEF for safe, E, I don't know what E means, it's probably something in German, and F for full auto or fire, something else in German, so the Sef Trigger Module. This is actually taken off of surplus, so it was a surplus trigger housing from Navy guns. So this is an actual SEF trigger. This is not a full auto gun, it's semi-auto, so if you're on safe, you're good to go. If you go down to E, this is, you know, another quirky thing. I mean, how far up you have to reach to grab onto this safety is just a little funky, but with the stock extended, you can get up there. So if you're on E, that's fire, and typically F would be full auto, but here once again, it is just normal reset. You just have 2 fire positions. But the whole idea and the whole shape of this gun and the way it shoots just makes it such a pleasure. There's so many guns now that like have been adapted to the 9mm to become a subgun. So AR9s, I've talked about them before. I am not a fan because they have more recoil than 5.56 being direct blowback. The whole roller lock mechanism that they use inside of the MP5, because it was designed for 9mm, makes this super, super smooth shooting. And one of the other things too that's awesome about it is it's tri-lug and or threaded barrel. But if you're gonna put a suppressor on an MP5, you gotta go tri-lug all the way. It's just the cool way to do it. Moving back, we have the trigger, which I sort of talked about, but the thing that I think HKs fall down on the job, and this was true of the G36 clone I reviewed. I have shot SP5s and MP5s before, and this is a genuine MP5 HK trigger in here, is they just aren't very good. So you get up on the wall, there's a lot of slop, you start to pull it out, there's more slop, there it goes off. It's like 7 pounds or something like that. The reset is a nice HK clunk, and then it goes back off. If you're looking for an AR style trigger, that is not going to be in here whatsoever. They're very clunky, but you kind of forgive it because of the overall form and cool factor of the gun. Also, grip angle is definitely pushed far back, so something again from the 60s. I don't know if I'm just being particular about it or picky, but I prefer a more vertical grip angle, like on my B&T APC9 or on other ARs that I've got. I just do like a nice vertical grip angle, but the classic shape of the MP5, this is not unmanageable in any way, shape, or form. Now, if you get an MP5 or an SP5 or any type of a clone, you really do need to get the A3 collapsible stock, because this was in the first Die Hard movie, and this stock was part of the hero of the movie, because when McClane was going down the elevator shaft, or it was a ventilation shaft, he used his sling and the stock to wedge the gun up against the opening of the vent and rappel down the ventilation shaft. So this is something you gotta have. I know that there are pistol versions and braced versions, which are okay, but guys, just go ahead and SBR those puppies and put this collapsible A3 stock on it. It is the really cool way to go. Now, if you've never shot an MP5, SP5, or a clone, get out there and do it. It is a really flat, easy to shoot gun. They're very, very accurate. This diopter sight setup isn't bad, but a lot of people put rails on them so they can put red dots and come into the 21st century. But seriously, Die Hard was the movie that set off my love of MP5s and roller locks in general. And one day I will have a full auto authentic MP5. Mark my words, it will happen. But for now, I'll just have to do with clones. And speaking of clones and Die Hard, this is where this series was going to end, because the original movie, there was 4 guns that I wanted to look at. The 92, which I had, the Steyr AUG, which I got from Steyr, the MP5, which clones are plentiful out there. But I really wanted to get Hans's gun, the HK VP713. I think it was the P713. Well, we have a Christmas miracle, because I didn't think I was going to get a chance to shoot or test one of the P7s. Definitely not the 13, but a buddy of mine here in McKinney, Chris, was able to find a P7 in the 2-tone finish. It's not the 13 version that Hans used, but it does have the same firing mechanism, the same grip cocking deal here. So I haven't shot it yet. I'm going to try to get out and film some time with it before next week. But coming up, we're going to finish with a Christmas Miracle and Hans's gun, the P7.